Hello everyone, welcome back to the Handspin Review Spot YouTube channel. Please hit the subscription button if you like what we're doing here, it really helps us out, and you can head to the Facebook page by going to the link in the description below. Today we're looking at the first ring spinner that's featured on the site, or featured on the channel I should say. This is the LoopHole by Premium Spinners. And there has been a lot of hype about this spinner, and so it really felt like one that I really needed to get in hand and give you guys a look at. You will see various other reviews of this online, and so here's my shot at it. So before we go any further, it seems a little bit pointless because you use a ring spinner quite differently to a lot of other spinners, but as this comes with a really classic button design, which we'll go into later, let's do a few size comparisons so you can see what it would be like against other things. So let's put it against the Tri-Cocoon from Pos Blades. We'll put it next to another ring spinner. This is the Gen X there with its slug, which we'll also get to. There it is next to a Turnian, and whoops, chucking spinners around. There it is next to a Zero Feud Compass, and we'll put it next to something else which is well known. Put it next to a Rotor Blade Stubby. There we go. So that gives you an idea. As you can see, it's pretty compact, and that works in its favour, particularly in its general use, which is as a ring spinner. So what the hell is a ring spinner? Most of you watching this I'm sure will know, but effectively it's a hand spinner, but with a large enough bearing that you can put a finger through. So this one in particular is running a slightly larger bearing than the other ring spins. Basically, the ring spin idea was popularised by Steel Flame, and indeed there will be a Steel Flame ring spin review coming very, very soon. But what they decided to do here, Alex and his team at Premium Spinners, they decided to use a bearing with a larger inner diameter than you would find on things like the Gen X, which I just showed you, and indeed the ring spin, which runs exactly the same bearing as this one in terms of spec. So the bearing in this is an SR1232. And let's run you through the weights of this, because it's quite interesting. This is obviously a brass version. This is a 12-notch version. They come unnotched. That's referred to as the T0. You can get them in 4-notch as well. I'm not sure if there's any others. I think that might be the main options that you have available to you. But basically what you're looking at here is without buttons, which is how an awful lot of people will run one of these, you're looking at 43 grams, which is very, very manageable in brass. With buttons, you're looking at 90 grams. And that then puts it into a very, very high density spinner in terms of the size, because that's a very heavy spinner in almost any design, and so in such a small and compact design it really, really feels hefty. And that's because the buttons themselves, if you haven't done the math really, really quickly, weigh about 46, 47 grams. So yeah, they're weighty. They weigh a little bit more than the actual spinner itself. But there is a fix to this, which is that basically they've decided to come out with a slug as well, which lowers the weight. And before we go any further, we'll use the Gen X here just to talk about slugs. I will do a follow-up review of this, so I should be having a slug coming soon and talk to you about how the slug actually works within this idea. But effectively a slug is just a small piece of metal. In this case it's a titanium slug for the Gen X, with a couple of O-rings. This one sort of seats it on a table for table spins, and this one locks within the bearing. You just push it through and the job is done, and then you have effectively a more typical hand spinner or a table spinner. But we'll put the Gen X to one side because this is not the Gen X review, although that will be coming as well. This has these hefty buttons which you can insert, they work well, and then it becomes quite a nice, enjoyable hand spinner. So let's have a quick talk about how it feels in those terms. Well, as I mentioned, it's very, very heavy, and I find that kind of nice, I have to say. I'm not sure whether I'd want to use this one for very, very long periods of time at that weight, but I don't mind it. I quite enjoy it. And the buttons themselves are really nicely done. They've got this, the whole thing has what looks like a relatively coarse stonewash, and the buttons have a lovely sort of tactile sensation, and then they have knurling on the outside edges, which hopefully you can see there, which is a really, really nice little added extra. And when you consider that these guys are coming in at really quite competitive prices, I think that's pretty impressive, I must say. I mean, for something like this, they're virtually always sold out, but these are American made, I believe, and they're coming in at $53.99, that is, and that's really quite impressive. So in using it in its normal configuration, that is to say as it was designed as a ring spinner, what do we have? Well, it's all very smooth and very comfortable. It's a compact body. There isn't a huge amount of distance between the bearing itself and the outer diameter of the body itself. You have on this particular one 12 notches, as you can see, and then you have female knurling. Now, as it stands, I don't believe female knurling is going to be available again, but having spoken to Alex about that, it does sound like female knurling might be available. And what's meant by female knurling effectively is that this knurling is pushed into the surface, whereas other knurlings would sit out from the surface because they would be cut into it. It feels extremely comfortable. With the fact that it has a larger diameter or larger interior diameter bearing, a larger diameter bearing in total, you'll find that this sits quite far down on the finger. And indeed, if you have more slender fingers than my chubby little ones, it will go even further still. On me, it gets quite tight and comfortable just in front of the first knuckle, and I have to say I find this very enjoyable to use. When it first arrived, I mean, I've not really had that much time spent with ring spinners, and as I haven't had a steel flame one in hand, I mean, literally I will do in the next couple of days, but I wasn't really that used to using them this way, but to be honest, this is really, really comfortable. And one upside to the fact that this is a larger diameter, isn't it, the fact that it slips further down onto the finger, is that you can use this while you're doing other things much more safely. I mean, indeed, I remember watching a couple of other reviews where it was mentioned that people were using these while driving. I don't generally recommend using a spinner while driving. I don't think I can do so without being maybe slightly irresponsible. I don't know. But it feels extremely comfortable, and I can imagine doing other tasks involving your hands while still being able to keep this on and use it here and there as something to help you concentrate or relax. It's good. It's very, very, very comfortable. As you can see, I can turn it in different directions. I can spin it at different speeds, and it gives you a different level of tactile feedback into the finger depending on how you spin it. It's really, really nice. It's not a long spinner, as you would expect, but honestly, don't buy one of these if that's what you're after. Ring spinners are absolutely fidget devices, and it's really, really nice in those terms. It's got enough smoothness about it without it feeling like it's not there. And I think in a ring spinner, you want some tactile feedback to run into your finger to let you know that it's actually doing something. It's really nice. It's very impressive, I have to say. I'd heard nothing but great things from other reviewers that I'd spoken to. Alana at Fidget Haven, who I speak with often, had raved about how much she loved these, and hoped that I would review one and get one in hand and see what I thought. I wasn't as enthusiastic when it first arrived, and I certainly was a little bit more skeptical about reviewing it than some others would have been, but I've been completely won over. I've carried it for a few days now, and it's a superlative ring spinner. It's just an excellent piece of work, and at the prices that are being charged for these, I'm not surprised that they're leaping off the shelves so fast, because they're worth every penny and more. So absolutely props to Premium Spinners. They've produced a fantastic ring spinner. I really think most people could probably